Hi, everyone. I'm here with Alexei Zamyatin, the co-founder of Build on Bitcoin. Your mainnet is going live today. What are all the features that will be available?
So yeah, we're super excited. We focused on two things, on making DeFi for Bitcoin really accessible. And here we have some of the largest existing Bitcoin DeFi projects going live on Bob, including Sovereign. But we also have a number of Ethereum DeFi apps deploying onto the Bob network for trading, on like just normal spot dexes, lending and perpetual swaps for Bitcoin. At the same time, we've also focused on trying to make Ordinals, runes, and BRC20s accessible to the Ethereum community, and to essentially get back all these users that I do believe are still Bitcoiners at heart. Many of them have Bitcoin somewhere and might be keen to use it again. And here we have, again, Sovereign built a runes bridge, and we'll provide runes to the ecosystem so you can actually go experiment with that. We will have some very simple BRC20 bridges. I believe we should also see a first Ordinals bridge go live at Mainnet or a couple of days after, so you can actually wrap Ordinals and bridge them over. And then in the weeks following the Mainnet, we will see peer-to-peer swaps go live, so that you can, instead of wrapping, you can actually purchase an Ordinal that stays on Bitcoin. So without actually trusting a third-party bridge, and just by trading, by sending somebody ETH and they send you the Ordinal on the Bitcoin side, and we help you coordinate. And there's a few apps building this. Yeah, so it's really kind of a mix of these two kind of verticals. We have 15 projects on the DeFi side going live on day one, and then I'm not even sure how many, I think half a dozen on the NFT Ordinal side, and we were super excited to see this grow. And then on our side, what we provide is infrastructure to make this super easy for users to experiment with. So easy ways for Ethereum users to go from ETH, Base, Polygon, Arbitrum, or any other EVM-compatible chain to be able to move their assets into Bob. Also from some of the competing layer 2s that have been live for a couple of weeks now on the Bitcoin side. But also we provide a very easy, simple on-ramp for users to bridge their Bitcoin into Bob. We've built a new unified bridging interface, very similar to how you do bridging between ETH L2s. It's called liquidity bridging. So we have providers that have voluntarily, they went through the bridging process for you. They've locked up the different Bitcoin representations in a pool, so TBTC and WBTC, and all you're actually doing as a user is you're swapping your Bitcoin against Bitcoin on Bob, and it's fully trustless. You actually don't trust the provider at any point in time. We have a very cool tool called the Bitcoin Wire Client, or a BTC Relay, that's built into Bob, and that verifies your Bitcoin transactions and automatically will unlock you the Bitcoin representation on Bob. And the goal here is really to create a synergetic environment between Bitcoin and Ethereum to bring in liquidity and users from both ecosystems to start experimenting and innovating on the intersections of these two large networks.
And so over the next day and week or weeks, what metrics will you be watching to assess how well this launch goes?
I mean, of course, TVL is a metric that we all have to pay attention to. Bob has been running a pre-commitment phase for a month now, where people could pre-commit liquidity. On the Ethereum side, we've had a time lock contract on Ethereum, fully non-custodial, so nobody has control over the assets. And now that's essentially reached $300 million in TVL. And we hope to see that moving into Bob on day one. The goal was to start with quite a bit of liquidity, so people can actually start using DEXs and not face, slippage and massive issues in trading, but be able to trade and use these things in a, acceptable and friendly manner. And at the same time, because we are connected to other ETH L2s and also actually to other Bitcoin layer 2s that have amassed BTC liquidity, we hope to see liquidity flowing in from these other ecosystems to start experimenting with some of these more Bitcoin-focused projects on Bob. The other metric we'll be looking at is obviously daily active users. We've had almost 30,000 people participate in phase one, and we hope to grow this number of people actually doing things on Bob on a daily basis. And the last, but also very, very important metric is builders. So we've been working with Bitcoin builders for the last couple of months. We've participated in different startup labs like incubators on the Bitcoin side. We've done hackathons, we've done hacker houses. And we're continuing to do this. And then obviously we're helping teams raise capital and help them actually go to mainnet. So we're very keen to see more developers really building on the intersection of Bitcoin and Ethereum. The cool thing with Bob is that you can see a lot of the Ethereum DeFi apps deploying, so they don't have to reinvent the wheel. We have an AMM, we have lending, we have perpetual swaps. And the cool thing that we can see now is people building on the intersection. So we're working with some really cool teams on hybrid things between ordinals and NFTs. We see people building swaps, easy on-ramps from Bitcoin into stablecoins, trying to connect EVM to things like Lightning and Nostr. And that's what I'm really excited about, because marrying these two really connects the millions of Bitcoin users that have either tried Nostr or Lightning or just have Bitcoin and you won't just have been paying or sending it around, with better user experience, more tooling, and also like power users on Ethereum who actually have a lot of experience in Web3 and can actually help educate users that previously knew only Bitcoin.
So at this moment in time, there's sort of this renaissance of layer twos on Bitcoin. Who do you consider your main competitors and how do you differentiate yourself from them?
So I think there's kind of a very interesting development, because you see teams really playing the TVL game, similar to Blast. We have Merlin, for example, that is playing a very similar playbook that has amassed a lot of TVL. There's, of course, debates on where this is coming from and how much of it is organic, but it's definitely very impressive. Like, I think it's over $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. I can't comment too much on the technological side. I haven't seen too many documents on how this actually works and connects to Bitcoin. I think here are unique advantages that we've actually been building in the Bitcoin space for a long, long time. For me, this is actually year 9 working in Bitcoin. And our full focus is really to not only integrate with Bitcoin, make the on-ramps easy, but actually with phase 2 with Emerge Mining to inherit Bitcoin security and contribute back to Bitcoin security budget. And I do think that this plays a big, big role in how people view the ecosystem and which projects they will pick. 2 other teams that I believe you have also been on your show recently are Citri and Botanix, both very cool technical teams. I think here the distinction is timing. So I think we're timeline-wise, we're a bit further ahead in terms of development and the readiness for mainnet. And the biggest distinction, right? I mean, we're all working towards better Bitcoin bridges and working towards BitVM. I think Botanix is taking a slightly different route. Citri is obviously a big proponent of BitVM and trying to really, in the long term, also get a fork into Bitcoin to be able to do ZK rollups. And we share the sentiment here that we really want to make BitVM possible. The distinction between these teams, I think, is that Bob has really taken a pragmatic approach by also connecting to Ethereum. We've talked to many, many teams in the space. We've once before actually built a Bitcoin-focused sidechain and learned the very, very hard way that only focusing on tech does not actually get you the users, and you might not be solving the problems that people care about. And that's why we actually integrated with Ethereum, so we can bring in native stable coins, we can onboard ETH users, because we feel, and from the conversations we've had with Bitcoin teams, that's exactly what they want right now. They want to have more users, they want to have native stable coins, and they want to actually get more exposure to the Ethereum ecosystem, which is and has been for the longest time the powerhouse of DeFi and innovation in the space, not only actually on trading and DEXs and dApps, but also on the user experience side with smart accounts, social sign-in, social recovery. And this hybrid nature, I think, sets Bob apart from most of the competition because it is a very pragmatic approach. And we can talk a lot about the technological differences of who's building the better bridge. I think with TBTC V2, we have a very strong contender that is, Botanix's bridge is going to be pretty much similar in terms of the security model. TBTC V2 has been around, has over 150 million in TVL by now, of which quite a bit of is in Bob. And Citri obviously is really a great contributor to the BitVM research space. And in the long run, obviously, I believe BitVM will become a commodity. We're working on BitVM on the research side. You have to definitely give them lots of credit for really making lots of contributions to the BitVM core repository. And I think the question here is, who is going to be faster to market with BitVM, but also then who actually has the user base and the DeFi applications that will really kind of push this forward and start using this from day one. And if you think of it on a longer time scale, I think BitVM will become a commodity very similar to Lightning. Robin and ZeroSync are developing this fully in the open with the goal to enable innovation on Bitcoin. Robin's focus has been also on zero coins, and basically ways to transact more privately on Bitcoin. And then our goal is obviously to use this for secure bridges. Citria wants to use this to roll up to Bitcoin. And I think we're actually all working towards the same goal. So it'll be really interesting to see how this BitVM kind of timeline develops, if there's anyone who actually manages a much earlier innovation, because the interesting bit is all these teams that are building sidechains were all kind of what you could say were not the first to be in the BitVM game, because Robin's team they're the ones who invented it. There's a very strong community, very small still community around BitVM. And in my opinion, the best way is to contribute to that. And that's also what Citria is doing.
Yeah, I'm definitely also fascinated to watch this whole thing play out. So obviously today you are launching your mainnet. I'm sure though you have the next milestone that you're trying to hit. So what would that be?
So the next milestone post mainnet would actually, launch is launch. The next milestone would be really to see organic activity, to onboard more applications and see more native use cases. What I really want to see is an easy way for people to borrow against their Bitcoin and to get this DeFi on-ramp to really a one-click solution. So think I want to buy a stable coin and I have Bitcoin. I go to the interface. I say, okay, I want to buy 1,000 USDC. I send my Bitcoin, and actually within seconds, I can claim my USDC because we can optimize and, you can have people willing to take risks. So zero confirmation transactions. Plus in phase 2 with Bob's merge mining design, we'll actually see much sooner which transactions are actually currently being sampled into the Bitcoin block, so we actually can get a earlier potentially insight into whether there is a conflicting transaction or not, and if you're trying to attack the system, so we can really reduce the confirmation times that we can accept on the Bitcoin side. And then from this, would love to see one-click Bitcoin staking deployment. So for those who want to take a bit more risk and actually want to earn yield on the Bitcoin, the goal is that you can say, well, I want to deploy my Bitcoin into lending or into a stable swap between two different Bitcoin versions, or into an LP pool with Bitcoin USDT, or something else, a more complex strategy that gives me exposure to Ethereum stake. And all I have to do is one click and send one Bitcoin transaction. And I think that is a big, big unlock that we're all working towards. And then from there, obviously, the next milestone is integrating merge mining, really having full Bitcoin security, or ideally get as much mining power behind this as possible. The goal here is 80% is our target. So if we get 80% of the Bitcoin miners to participate early on, then we're happy. If it's 60%, it's also good. But we really want to showcase that the entire Bitcoin ecosystem is actually standing behind layer 2s, not just Bob, but anybody else who wants to use this merge mining protocol to add Bitcoin security to the rollup, because this way we can actually show a unified front and together work towards, okay, we're building layer 2s. We might need some changes to Bitcoin to make this more secure. What is it going to be? What do actually users care about? And if I were to zoom out and not think only about Bob, the one thing that I really, really want to see is a first BitVM prototype on Mainnet by the end of this year. So hopefully we can get to a point where we have the first prototypes of BitVM with very simple programs where we can actually maybe even do a first bridging kind of experiment on Mainnet. Quite ambitious, but I'm cautiously optimistic that we might see that.
All right. Well, that will be interesting to watch. Congratulations again on your launch today.
Thank you so much.